Now, if you do psychotherapy with people and they have a traumatic memory, it won't go away. Well, what do you do with it? Well, you go back into the memory and you assess the sequence of events in detail until they have an account that is sufficiently plausible so that they believe that if the same circumstances arose in the future, they would no longer fall prey to that error. So, for example, if it's a naive person who was manipulated badly by a potential romantic partner, then what you do is you say, okay, well, look, what was it about your viewpoint that put you at risk? Now, that isn't blaming the victim. It's helping the victim not be a victim again. It's like, yeah, it was 95% the other person's fault, man. Whatever. They're not in the room with you. All you can do is try not to fall into the same pit. That doesn't mean someone else didn't dig the pit. Okay, so, well, I was too trusting. Okay, well, so let's take that apart. What do you mean too trusting? Well, I always assume the good in people. Well, okay, so, well, what about these instances of people acting in a bad way? Well, I don't really understand that. It's okay, you start to see they need to differentiate up their worldview to take into account the existence of predatory people. And they also generally have to differentiate their view of themselves to stop thinking themselves as nice and harmless. Because it's the nice and harmless naive person that's exploitable by the malevolent psychopath. And that's not moral virtue, that's just weakness. That's all it is. It's naivety, it's the maintenance of a childlike viewpoint, a view of the world far past its expiry date. And so you go back and take that apart. You formulate a more differentiated and sophisticated view of the world. The person finds that plausible. Then you have them practice it so they can see that it has applicability in the real world. And then the emotion from the traumatic memory will go away. Because what's happening is the anxiety system is saying, unexplored territory, unexplored territory, unexplored territory. And what that system wants is to know, A, that someone is trying to map that territory instead of just avoiding the problem, and B, that there is a plan. Now, it's not cognitively sophisticated enough in some way to know if the plan works. It wants to know that someone's in charge and that it's being taken care of. Well, so that's what you do in psychotherapy. You say, look, you can face this. Even though you think you can't, you can. We'll break it into pieces. I'll discuss with you a plethora of potential solutions. We can do it slowly. You can bite off as much as you can chew and no more. And we're going to come up with something that isn't a rationalization for your behavior, a post hoc rationalization. It's a set of new tools so that you do not, when you see that hole in the road, you walk around it. First of all, you'll see it. Second, you'll walk around it. And people are massively encouraged by that process. They're not made less afraid. In fact, they might be made more afraid, but the fear is much more focused, and they know they know how to deal with it. It's like, I didn't think there were dangerous people in the world. Well, there are. Oh my God, the world's much more dangerous. It's like, yes, it is. Well, what am I going to do about that? You're going to get smarter and sharper, right? Because that's the cure. It's not, we're going to make the world less dangerous. The world is plenty dangerous, but it turns out that you're a lot more capable than you thought. So
in what sense is this corrective mechanism